Now on KGW News.
To have a glitch in a computer like this is unconscionable.
More Oregon seniors scramble to get vaccine appointments, only to be kicked out of a system. Plus, some high school athletes, desperate to get back on the field, find out they won't get a season after all.
We had so many kids crying when we had to break the news to them.
Plus,
do you promise to defend the Portland courthouse against anarchists?
No, this isn't a flashback to summer. Portland protests become a talking point again on Capitol Hill. And we begin tonight with 3 things to know in the pandemic. First, bells tolled and candles were lit at the National Cathedral today to mark 500,000 people in the U.S. who have now died from COVID-19. But the grim milestone comes as we're starting to see things turn around. Oregon is seeing a steep drop in both COVID hospitalizations and new cases compared to a high in late November and early December. And vaccine manufacturing is ramping up. Johnson & Johnson's 1-dose option is expected to be available within weeks. And that will bring relief for many struggling to get an appointment for the vaccine. Starting today in Oregon, seniors 70 and up are now eligible for the shot, but there's still not nearly enough doses available to cover everyone in that age group and above. More appointments for the mass vaccination sites in Portland opened this morning, but many of you called and emailed us about computer glitches that kept you from actually getting an appointment. Former TV weatherman Dave Sweeney summed up the feeling.
I don't know. The whole thing pissed me off. And I'm computer literate. I deal with these things all the time. I'm a freaking meteorologist, for God's sakes. And it just, and if somebody is telling you at Legacy or wherever that the computer system is working fine, that's crap. It's not.
The local health systems which run the vaccine sites told us teams are working to fix the problems that kept people from getting through. However, many people did grab an appointment. All the slots for the convention center and airport went in less than an hour. The next appointments for the Portland sites open Thursday morning at 9 a.m. In Washington, the mass vaccination site for Clark County had to adjust its schedule because of weather-related shipping delays. The site at the fairgrounds in Ridgefield will open back up tomorrow, prioritizing people getting their second shot. Health officials say they'll have to get their next shipments before Wednesday to be fully operational for the rest of the week. We'll let you know if there are more delays. Meanwhile, some smaller vaccination sites are popping up with the goal of reaching underserved communities hit hard by the pandemic. Catherine Cook shows us how they're doing it.
Friday was just so amazing.
Charlene McGee.
It was so many people of color who came through.
And Jasmine Bowles are both exhausted.
Like we literally have been working nonstop.
And elated. The pair is part of Multnomah County's special outreach effort to vaccinate seniors in the BIPOC community. On Friday, nearly 400 people, including a handful who are white, showed up to Highland Church in Northeast Portland. Bishop Stuart Miniweather was among them.
We want to live a healthy life, and we want to be an example for our community. So we got rid of our fears, and we came this morning.
Others who showed up did so after hearing about the event through community partners they trusted.
We did outreach, we engaged, we got a message out to the community, get the word out, help to sign up elders.
Charlene manages Multnomah County's REACH program, which stands for Racial and Ethnic Approaches to Community Health. She says events like these are critical for several reasons. First, the numbers. Compared to white people, the CDC reports Black and Hispanic people are both around 3 times more likely to be hospitalized for COVID-19 and twice as likely to die from it.
The reality remains that when we look at the data, and because of the limited resources and availability of vaccines, we have to prioritize who we're vaccinating.
The Oregon Health Authority collected its own data on the inequitable impact of COVID-19, depending on race, ethnicity, language, and disability. They found patients seen for COVID-19 cases and related healthcare encounters preferred more than 100 non-English languages, suggesting potential language barriers.
I just can't imagine living in a pandemic, living in a world where I'm talking to you and you have no idea what I'm saying, but you know that you want this vaccine. And for me, that's all the more reason that we have to show up.
Jasmine Bowles is Multnomah County's nursing supervisor for COVID-19 testing and vaccination sites. She says Friday's event drew the most diverse group they'd ever seen at a vaccination clinic.
And for me, it was almost emotional because I love to see that, right? Like, I want to see that people who don't have access to these services are gaining access to these services.
The county's focus now is getting participants their second vaccine dose. They plan to hold similar events in the future and will alert community partners to help get the word out. Those interested in participating can also learn more by calling 211. Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Still developing tonight, just over 12,000 PGE customers are still without power in our area 11 days after the winter storm. The company says the repairs that are left are the toughest and will take the longest to get back online.
I appreciate that being without power for long periods of time is extremely frustrating.
Earlier today, there were 5,000 points of damage left to address. We saw crews out working to put up a new pole and transformer on Barker Avenue in Oregon City. The ones that came down in the storm have been blocking the street for a week and a half. Many people today were relieved to get their power back, including 85-year-old Vern Swanson.
The worst part was the darkness from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock when it's bedtime. You know, what do? You got no TV, you got no internet, you're back in the Stone Age.
In more rural parts of Clackamas County, the Oregon National Guard worked with the sheriff's office getting needed supplies to those still without power. We are learning more tonight about one of the people who died this weekend when a fishing boat capsized off the Oregon coast. 51-year-old Todd Chase was a lifelong fisherman. His family says he knew the dangers of being out on the water, but he loved it. His wife and sons told us today Todd was kind of a goofball who could make friends instantly.
He was my anchor. He was the glue that held us together. And he was one of the best men I knew.
And he taught us boys how to show love to everyone.
3 other crew members were on board the boat when it capsized while crossing the Tillamook Bar. Another man whose name has not been released also died. Many local schools are starting to bring children back into classrooms. In most cases, it's a hybrid mix of in-person and virtual learning. Vancouver Public Schools and Battleground began hybrid school today for some students. Lake Oswego is bringing kindergarten through first graders back part-time starting tomorrow. As for Portland Public Schools, it plans to begin hybrid learning in April for students in kindergarten through 5th grade. The high school football season is about to start for many teams. Because of the pandemic, the state shifted the start of a season from fall to spring. But some players and coaches just found out they won't be competing after all. Mike Benner reports.
Like Central Catholic was doing Monday night, high school football teams across the state are gearing up for the start of the season. It's an excruciating sight for Jackson Kane.
It's the hardest thing, really.
Kane is a senior tight end and inside linebacker at Sam Barlow High School. He found out late last week the Gresham Barlow School District is opting out of the football season. Kane and his teammates were devastated.
It was terrible to watch them go through all this pain and have me go through all this pain.
Coaches are hurting too. They're imploring district leaders to reverse course.
They need to make things happen for these kids, and there's still time. They can still do the right thing. They can still do the equitable thing.
Easier said than done. District administrators tell KGW that school districts, among other things, need to be offering limited in-person instruction in order to play football. As it stands right now, high schoolers aren't expected back in the classroom in the Gresham Barlow School District until March 8th. Administrators say ramping up practices then and fielding a competitive team just isn't feasible.
Our careers have been dedicated to putting kids first, and we continue to try to do that while at the same time follow our obligations to make sure the district is within the law. So it's a tough thing to balance.
I mean, I definitely feel for them. I'm pretty sure everyone in the state can.
Ty Delgado knows exactly how the Sam Barlow football team is feeling. The Park Rose lineman thought his senior season wouldn't happen until finding out Monday it would, with Park Rose opting in.
I immediately felt something like in my heart. It was just like pumping. no joke. It's something I've been waiting for forever.
That wait continues for Jackson Kane, who's hoping something changes and Sam Barlow gets to participate in the season, even if it's an abbreviated one.
A season's a season, and being able to go back onto that field one last time with all of my best friends is extremely important to me.
Go! Let's go! I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
The district is giving the team an opportunity to play in minimal contact games with fewer players on the field. Players and coaches aren't really thrilled with that. They prefer the regular full contact 11-player games.